Hi folks, this is Tony for aminutetomidnight.com, and in this video I'm going to expose some aspects of Freemasonry and their role in bringing in a one world government and a one world religion. And Freemasonry is just one aspect of the ancient mystery schools who are working on this. So we will begin by looking at World War I. In just a few days' time, we will be commemorating the 100th year anniversary of the end of World War I, a war in which at least 15 million people died. Estimates put it somewhere between 15 and 19 million, plus many other casualties in terms of being wounded. 32 countries were involved in the fighting in World War I, and the war lasted from July 28, 1914 until Armistice Day, or now called Veterans Day, on November the 11th, 1918, and it was signed, Armistice was signed at 11 AM. So the war officially ended on the 11th of the 11th at 11 AM. Right there off the bat, I feel suspicious at the timing. The 11th of the 11th at precisely 11 AM, which added up equals 33. And for those of us that research stuff to do with the occult and Freemasonry, 33 is a huge calling card. Now I'm going to show you a couple of very interesting photos here that are found on rarehistoricalphotos.com, and we can see a photo of a pyramid taken in 1919 that shows employees of the New York Central Railroad at a celebration in victory, showing a pyramid of recovered German helmets in front of the Grand Terminal, and there were over 12,000 of these helmets in that pyramid sent from warehouses in Germany at the end of the war. Interesting that it's a pyramid, which we know is very symbolic of Freemasonry and the occult, and no one knows for sure what is on the top of the pyramid, but there is speculation that it could be the Nike, the goddess of victory. The second photo, again, you can see these helmets, and on the top of pillars overlooking the helmets are eagles, or perhaps they are phoenixes, which once again are very often used in association with the ancient mystery schools, the occult and Freemasonry. Out of World War I and the victory came the League of Nations, and here's a couple of quotes from Masonic writers. Here's one from Brother Lenoff in 1927. "Certainly up to a point the people are correct who assume a connection between Freemasonry and the League of Nations. The League of Nations as such is derived from Masonic ideas." And here is another one from 1923. "It is the duty of universal Freemasonry to cooperate absolutely with the League of Nations in order that it may no longer have to submit to the interested influences of governments." Rank and file Freemasons have no idea, no clue as to the full scope of what they're involved in. I want to look a lot in this video at the United Grand Lodge of England and their tercentenary celebration held in 2017. The Grand Lodge of England meets in this building, Freemasons Hall in London. Freemasons Hall in London is the headquarters of the United Grand Lodge of England, and as well as being a meeting place of many lodges in the London area, it is located in Great Queen Street and has been a Masonic meeting place since 1775. There have been 3 Masonic buildings on the site, with the current incarnation being opened in 1933. Now take note here, it says here in 1846 the World Evangelical Alliance was formed here. This should definitely be sounding warning bells on the World Evangelical Alliance being formed at the home of Freemasonry. It's a global organisation of evangelical Christian churches serving more than 600 million evangelicals, founded in 1846 in London, England, to unite evangelicals worldwide. It's the largest international organisation of evangelical churches and is now headquartered in the United States. So folks, there you have it. The World Evangelical Alliance was formed at the home of Freemasonry. And yes, the Grand Lodge of England is the home of Freemasonry. From their own website, on St. John's Day 24th of June 1717, 4 London lodges which had existed for some time came together at the Goose and Gridiron Tavern in St. Paul's Churchyard, declared themselves a Grand Lodge and elected Anthony Sayer as their Grand Master. This was the first Grand Lodge in the world, and much of this video is going to be focused on their tercentenary celebrations in 2017. Before I get there, I just want to look though. If you see on the Grand Lodge of England's website, it says they contribute over £33 million a year as one of the UK's largest charitable groups. See, there you go again, folks. There's your 33 being hidden in plain sight. So now let's have a look at the United Grand Lodge of England and the tercentenary celebration that was held in 2017. This was part of the tercentenary celebration of the United Grand Lodge of England, and the meeting was held in the Royal Albert Hall on October the 31st, 2017, and was presided over by the Grand Master, His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent, and was attended by representatives of 136 sovereign Grand Lodges from around the world. Now, just briefly have a quick look at their logo, and you'll see something I've pointed out in many videos, the as above, so below symbolism. It's pretty plainly there. And if you look at this other logo of theirs, this official blazon or coat of arms was granted on July 19th, 1919, and you will see a fake Ark of the Covenant, and I'm going to deal with that a bit more further on. And also notice the hooved feet and goat legs on these so-called cherubs, not cherubs at all.
To order, brethren, to receive the most worshipful, the Grand Master.
What immediately comes to my mind here is Matthew 23:10 in the King James Version. It says, "Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ." Okay, so who is Prince Edward, Duke of Kent? He was born on October the 9th, 1935, and is a member of the British royal family. He is a first cousin of Queen Elizabeth through their fathers, Prince George, Duke of Kent, and King George VI, who were brothers. He has held the title of the Duke of Kent since the death of his father in a plane crash in 1942, and he carries out engagements on behalf of the Queen. Interestingly, he is also a second cousin to the royal family through his mother as well. Edward is both a second cousin and a first cousin once removed to Prince Charles and his siblings. The Duke was initiated into the Royal Alpha Lodge number 16th on December the 16th, 1963, and was elected its worshipful master for 1965 and 1966. Having been appointed Senior Warden in 1966, he was elected as Grand Master the following year and was installed on the 14th of June 1967 during United Grand Lodge of England's 250th anniversary celebrations at the Royal Albert Hall. He is the 10th and longest serving Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England, which is the governing body of Freemasonry in England and Wales. In December 2013, he celebrated 50 years as a Freemason. Now, another point that's very interesting to note about this man is that he married Catherine Worsley in 1961, and in 1994, Catherine Worsley, who is of course now the Duchess of Kent, converted to Roman Catholicism, which I find very, very interesting. The Church of England's official stance on Masonry was set by the June 1987 meeting of the General Synod in York, which held that Christianity and Freemasonry were not compatible. However, the Supreme Governor of the Church of England, or the Anglican Church, is Queen Elizabeth II, and her first cousin, Prince Edward the Duke of Kent, is the Grand Master of the United Lodge of England, the home of Freemasonry. So it's also therefore interesting to note that Prince Edward's wife became a Roman Catholic, and supposedly Freemasonry and Roman Catholicism are not compatible. I think this is very much looking like Hegelian dialectic once again, and we are sold a false line that these things are incompatible when in fact they are all working towards the same end, the global religion and the one world government. The Supreme Governor of the Church of England is a title held by the British monarch that signifies leadership over the Church of England. Although the monarch's authority over the Church of England is largely ceremonial, the position is still very relevant to the Church. So the Supreme Governor of the Church is Queen Elizabeth II. And her first cousin is the head of British Freemasonry, and in fact there have been times when Prince Edward has stood in for the Queen, so to speak, when she's been out of the country. So it's very hard to escape the conclusion that the Church of England, Freemasonry and the British monarchy are all interlinked. This next little clip should give you some idea of how Freemasonry attempts to guise itself in a way that will be accepted by, well, churchianity and the watered down gospel that so many are embracing today.
Almighty and everlasting God, Creator and giver of all life, as we celebrate the tercentenary of the founding of the Premier Grand Lodge and the birth of organised Freemasonry, we give Thee heartfelt and humble thanks for all we derive from our Masonic membership in the practice of every moral and social virtue.
The complete video of the tercentenary celebration held in the Royal Albert Hall is about 2 hours or more long. Far too much to go into here, but anyone with half an ounce of discernment should be able to see that Freemasonry is a complete distortion, topsy-turvy, and completely incompatible with Christianity. Far too much to go into it all here. I'm just going to put a few little bits in, and let's start with the head himself, Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent.
Today, however, is the occasion when the global Masonic family comes together to celebrate our past and renew our own pride and confidence in and enthusiasm for Freemasonry, such that we may inspire future generations. Brethren, would you now join me in singing a hymn about the guidance and sustenance that Masons have always sought from the great architect of the universe?
see how easily Christians, or so-called Christians, could get sucked into thinking this is acceptable. But 1 minute they're calling him the great architect of the universe, which could be any god, and then they're singing to thou great Jehovah. Well, I think they've just ruined that hymn. I will never hear it quite the same way again. The Freemasons have their own distorted version of the Ark of the Covenant. Let's just take a very brief look at that now.
The Ark has always been a symbol of hope and continuity. In the Bible, it is an ark that safely navigates the waters of the deluge, and it is an ark that holds the tablets of the commandments in witness to the hope of salvation.
I'm just going to briefly stop this here. Notice how they use the word salvation, which once again is a complete distortion. And if we look at the book of Acts in chapter 4, speaking about Jesus, and in verse 12 it says, "Nor is there salvation in any other, for there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved." There actually is no salvation in Freemasonry.
The Ark of the Masonic Covenant that formerly stood in the Grand Temple was also a symbol of hope, housing the precious Articles of Union and all they embodied about our values. The Ark before us today is no less a potent symbol of hope and aspiration, for it carries, as originally intended, a copy of the Articles of Union. Today we shall add a further legacy.
They then go on to place 3 articles in their fake Ark of the Covenant.
I now call upon my deputy masters to present the 3 great lights of Masonry to the Grand Chaplain to be placed in the Ark.
A volume of the Sacred Law, a square and a compass. This is all a Luciferian counterfeit of the truth, and we'll have a very brief look at some other aspects of this deception. While the establishment of the United Grand Lodge of England marked the beginning of modern organised Freemasonry, they claim that their roots go back to antiquity.
King Solomon sought to find one skilled in the art of building. He sent for Hiram and brought him up out of Tyre. And so the architect drew designs for the construction of a building. Never more splendid an edifice was fashioned than the temple Hiram wrought for the Lord. This skill to give effect to vision became operative masonry.
You can see here why the building of a temple is so important to the Masons.
Over time, thinking men became drawn to the idea of applying these tools to their models, that they should lead better lives, following the will of the great architect. Speculative Masonry was born.
Well, the great architect is certainly not the God of Christendom. Freemasonry does not offer salvation through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, but the works of man and the will of man.
Great men and great ideas found fertile land, and their beliefs spread across the world. They used tools to measure their actions by the rule of rectitude. They squared their conduct by the principles of morality. They compassed their thoughts by propriety. And thus men built temples within their hearts. These edifices, models, and ideals are as relevant today as they were in ancient times. Let us resolve to keep them so.
This next bit is positively creepy, with the all-seeing eye of Horus, Ra, or Lucifer.
Like the builders of old, each Freemason takes up the square and compasses. As he applies these tools to his morals and becomes more skilled in the craft, he progresses from entered apprentice to fellow craft, and finally master mason. In rich ceremonies of timeless drama, he is presented with centuries of wisdom on life's greatest questions.
I'll come back to that show at the Royal Albert Hall shortly, but first I want to take you to Wellington, New Zealand, and a look at some of the symbolism and the meanings behind them found in Freemasonry. Publicly, the Masons won't tell you the truth about the meaning of these symbols.
Freemasons have been meeting here since 1979. We've had a great time up here, but now we're moving on to a new building down on the Hutt Road, so a really exciting new financial opportunity. So we're selling this building, which is, and the property around it, which is a large section, ideal for development, or someone might want to come in here and use the building as well. Freemasons are a society of men who get together for enjoyment, but also to improve themselves. There's a bit of philosophy involved, a bit of personal development, some charity as well, public speaking and so on. So in order to be a Freemason, you need to be over the age of 18, you have to be of good character, you can't have a criminal conviction, you need to believe in a supreme being, so have some spiritual beliefs, and you need to be a man, which is really about Masonry being a society for men to make men better. So Freemasonry uses a lot of symbols to represent concepts and ideas. That really harkens back to the medieval times when people were illiterate. The most important symbol is the square and compasses. The square represents square conduct, living your life in a right and proper manner, and the compasses symbolise boundaries, keeping your passions and prejudices within due bounds and not becoming too extreme on any one issue.
Now contrast the publicly proclaimed meanings of the square and compass with the writing of 33rd degree Freemason Albert Pike in the book Morals and Dogma on page 851, and we will see what the real meaning is. And remember, Albert Pike was the head of Freemasonry, the Scottish Rite Freemasonry. The compass, therefore, is the hermetic symbol of the creative deity and the square of the productive earth or universe. The compass, therefore, as the symbol of the heavens, represents the spiritual, intellectual, and moral position of this double nature of humanity, and the square as the symbol of the earth, its material, sensual, and baser portion. So now let's look at some of the other symbols found in the building there in Wellington. First off, we've got the pentagram, which is a 5-pointed star encased in a circle. The number 5 has always been regarded as mystical or magical. Interestingly, when you position a man over the pentagram with the head and arms and legs spread, exactly the center is the genitals, and this is basically, again, representative of the as above, so below symbolism and reproduction. And it's interesting to note too that depending on where you're seated with the pentagram on the floor, it would either be inverted or upright. And again, it's the as above, so below symbolism. On the wall, you also have the all-seeing eye in a triangle encased in a circle. And where have we seen that? Of course, we've seen it on the US dollar, amongst other places. Very Masonic. And as well as that, we have a Maltese cross, as such as is found in the Order of St. John and the Order of the Knights of Malta and so on. Also on the wall you have a hexagram, which, according to the Masonic author Albert Mackey, tells us of the sexual connotation of the hexagram. The triangle pointing downward is a female symbol corresponding to the yoni, and the upward pointing triangle is the male, the lingam. When the two triangles are interlaced, it represents the union of the active and passive forces in nature. It represents the male and female elements. Folks, that is your as above, so below symbolism again, and it's sexual in nature. And also we know that hexes are used by witches, and that's based from the hexagram, and I believe also that the 6-pointed star was associated with the goddess Ishtar as well. Now this is another smaller lodge in Canterbury, New Zealand, but you'll once again see some pretty interesting symbolism in this place.
The Master, this is his pedestal. The Senior Warden sits at the very far western side of the room, and the Junior Warden on the southern side of the room.
For example, what does that look like to you? I mean, that symbol, it certainly looks like a male genital to me. I mean, far out. If that doesn't represent a phallus, I don't know what does. And here we have a phallus with the face of a sun in it. And I suggest this probably represents the regeneration of the sun god Ra. You also see there's an Ouroboros snake there as well. You'll see Masonic symbolism and Masonic influence everywhere, pretty much in the Western world. And these photos were sent to me by a friend of mine, Diana, who is in Dallas, and she wanted to know what were the two dates. The AD 2002 is obvious, but what did AL 6002 represent is what she wanted to know. Well, it stands for Anno Lucis 6002. And what does that mean? Anno Lucis, in the year of light, is a dating system used in Masonic ceremonial or commemorative proceedings. It is equivalent to the Gregorian year plus 4000. According to the Masonic Lodge of Education, the year of light refers to the biblical account of the creation of the universe, wherein God spoke and said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Genesis 1:3. Now, that's pretty interesting in a world today where we have evolution and creation is basically thrown out. It's interesting that Masonry is using that. But we're going to see that light is very significant to the Masons.
Throughout his long journey, and with divine guidance, the Freemason is offered ancient advice to take him on his path from darkness to light, to encourage him in his quest for knowledge and his desire to render himself more serviceable to his fellow creatures.
The quest for more knowledge, eh? Well, that sure reminds me of the lie of the serpent in the Garden of Eden, that you shall be like God.
Every Mason knows how important the symbolism of light has always been in his ritual. In their many ways, Freemasons have spent the last 300 years spreading their light, and the light of Freemasonry's values of tolerance, self-improvement, and service to others.
And there you have it again, self-improvement. A Masonic attempt to be as God, no need for salvation through Jesus Christ in the Masonic Creed.
Most worshipful Grand Master, I humbly ask you to complete the initiation of this worthy candidate for Freemasonry.
Having been kept for a considerable time in a state of darkness, what in your present situation is the predominant wish of your heart?
Light.
Let that blessing be restored to the candidate.
Now let's have a look at a quote from Albert Pike in Morals and Dogma, page 321. Now Albert Pike was the head of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, Grand Master Albert Pike. Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. It is he who bears the light, and with its splendours intolerable, blinds feeble, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not. See, the light bearer to Freemasons is Lucifer, just the same as it was to people like Blavatsky and Alice A. Bailey, the Theosophists and so forth, and it's the same. It's the light. The great architect to them is not the God of Christendom, it is in fact Lucifer. Well, you may be wondering, what has this to do with you, all this talk about Freemasonry? What difference does it make? How much influence do they have? Well, a lot. New Zealand's own Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern was the recipient of a Freemasons scholarship, and she rose from virtually nowhere in a hurry. But you may want to look, if you're in America, exactly what role Freemasonry played in your nation, right from its very foundations.
Self-evident, Brother Franklin, all men are created equal.
Indeed, Brother Washington. All Freemasons meet as equals, and we have an opportunity to create a nation in the very essence of Masonic morality.
With freedom and tolerance of all religions and moralities that no government can oppress.
You know, I think it would be a great idea if we wore our Masonic regalia when we're putting in place the foundation stone for the Capitol building.
Freedom of speech, too, and the press, the right to peaceful assembly, and... Did you say regalia?
Yes. Well, it would be wonderfully symbolic, don't you think?
You'll be wanting to put the all-seeing eye on our banknotes next.
You think I'm taking it a bit far?
Please don't ask me questions like that, Brother Franklin. You know I cannot tell a lie.
Oh, come on, Brother Washington. Everybody lies occasionally, surely, especially politicians.
Not me. Not even so much as an alternative fact.
But we must all be aware of fake news.
The people must be free to think what they like as well. We can have no thought police in our new society.
I couldn't agree with you more. Without freedom of thought, there can be, well, no such thing as wisdom.
You know, I do agree with you, though. The foundation stone of our new nation, built on all those principles that we hold dear, perfect in its parts and honorable to the builder.
And the plans for our new capital city already have a very Masonic feel to them. Yeah. You know, I still don't think Potomac City has enough of a ring to it, though, somehow. Have you given any thought to a name, Brother Washington?
I'm still working on that one.
And these two gentlemen are founding an entire nation built on our principles.
We have great promises for our new nation. You know, I wonder if other presidents after me will also be Freemasons.
Well, of course. I mean, well, I just sort of assumed.
I'm afraid not, Ben. But many will be. And Freemasonry will become embedded in the American culture. And the eye will appear on the banknotes.
Oh, God.
As will your face.
Oh, God.
And in years to come, these principles will be honored with a gift from your French brethren. A gift that will be a welcoming beacon to the poor and oppressed when they journey to your great land. Brother Bartholdi.
I've always liked the French.
What's that?
This is the statue we are giving you.
It's a bit small, isn't it?
Oh, this is a maquette. The real thing is bigger. Much, much bigger. I call her Liberty Enlightening the World.
Catchy.
As the globe embraced Freemasonry, enlightenment came. Not just to the initiate, but to the world.
There's some more of them I'd like you to meet.
So folks, I hope you found that helpful. As I said at the beginning, I believe Freemasonry is only one arm of the ancient mystery schools, and most Freemasons have no clue what's truly going on, and there are puppet masters above all of these occult groups. Now, if you want to visit our website, aminutetomidnight.com, you can find all our shows and our articles and videos on there. And we do run A Minute to Midnight completely 100% by donations, and we want to thank people that do help us. And if you want to do that, you can donate at our website. And that's about it. So I hope you did find this video helpful, and we will be out with more videos and A Minute to Midnight episodes soon. So until the next one, catch you later. God bless and have a great week. And don't forget, read your Bibles.